Okay, I am back with the room, and what I want to do here is just show you some different things you can do, mostly relating to textures and making things look a little bit more random. So I stuck a shelf in here. I haven't textured it yet. I've got a little thing here for a poster, um, and I want to just kind of start out by sticking some concrete on the floor. So I'm going to unlock my room and go down to face mode here, grab that guy, and I want to create a new texture for the floor. So I'm going to do the old usual. I'm going to do a favorite material, which is my standard surface. Okay, and under here, this is the new one. I'm going to call this floor. At some point, it's good to name these things. Remember, no spaces. So you can find them when you're trying to apply it to something else moving forward. Okay, so for the base, I'm going to just stick a color on or a picture on here. So I'm going to click on File, and then I'm going to click on the folder icon and look for something. And I've organized them a little bit in my source images folder. So floor textures, I've got this, and I've got this. I'm going to stick this one on here, even though it's kind of big. I don't know. I'm just going to try it and see what it looks like. Okay. If we hit 7 on your screen here, it will show you stuff, but a lot of times it's just kind of messed up. So I tend to use the Arnold render view to get a little bit better idea of what's going on, in when I actually see something. So you can see how ginormous this texture is on the floor. Okay, and I want to use that more as just a sort of an undercoat, as it were. So I'm going to pop back over here, and I'm going to turn the weight on that down a little bit. And every time you put a texture and you have a something associated with your image here, which is a 2D texture node. Let's see if I can find it here. My file, there it is. And with this, you can then repeat how many times this thing is going to repeat on the surface. So if I do this like 12 and 12, I get something that looks more like this. Now this was a seamless texture, I think. So you're seeing it a little bit there. It's way, way too glossy at this point. No concrete ever looks like that for very long. So I'm going to back out of this, and I'm just going to leave it at 12 times repeating at this point. And just so you know, inside of here, you do have some options as well. When you bring a texture in, you can modify how light or dark it is with this exposure slider. And then you've got a default color as well. Mostly though, this color gain can be useful. Sorry, not the color gain, the color offset. Okay, so you can play with those a little bit. So if you're trying to tweak something, you don't always have to go back to Photoshop to do it. Okay, I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to turn this specular way down. I'm also going to turn this IOR down because I really don't want this to pretend it's like a gemstone or something like that. So I'm going to turn that way down to make it pretty dull looking so it doesn't have a big shine to it. I'm going to bump the roughness up a little bit too. So whatever reflections I do get, they're going to be softened a lot. Okay. So I did want to show you too that this coat attribute here is really cool because you can put something else on top of your file. Let me zoom in on this a little bit so we can see the floor a little bit better here. Okay, so there's my concrete. That still looks really ginormous. I'm gonna crank that up a bit more. I'm gonna appear to my 2D texture node. I'm gonna change this to like 20 and 20. Okay, it's still kind of big. That's okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to use this coat attribute to put another color on top of it. So you can layer additional levels of imagery or things like that on top of things. So I'm going to click on color here, and I'm going to do another file. This is in the coat attribute. Click on this, and this I'm going to do this stain seamless, like that. Okay. And you're not going to see anything until I turn the weight up for it. So it's loading right now. or Maya's crashing, one of the two. We'll see. No, there it goes. Okay, so now if I go back over here, and again, I'm back in code. I'll just turn spec off here so I don't have to look at that. And as I turn the weight up, you're going to see that image take precedence over the one underneath it. Okay, and you'll see how this got shiny again. That's because this code attribute is essentially has a whole other specular attribute on top of the one up here. Okay, so I'm going to knock this back down to 0, the IOR, index of refraction, and then I'm going to turn the roughness way up on this too. Okay, so if I pull that in like that, you can kind of see I'm getting now this other texture on top of it. That was file 4. Okay, so if I go to focus here and click on that, I can bring up this place 2D texture. So here too, since that was a seamless, I'm going to push this up to like 10 and 10. Now that's maybe seamless, but it has a giant seam on it, which looks kind of junky. So maybe I'll just kind of let it stretch like that, which doesn't really bother me too much in one direction. Let's do something like that. Oh no, 6,000 is no good. 6J6, there we go. Yeah, that's kind of okay. Looks a little better. Okay, and then I might want to play with the gain on that a little bit too. Mess with that a bit. So it's not quite so dark. All right, that's cool. All right, that. And again, weight all the way up. If I want to get some of the bottom showing through more, I can just turn the weight down. Okay, so it's a kind of a really nice way to mix a couple of things together. And I kind of like did a little bit of that with the wall here too. I stuck a noise texture on that. So if I go to that attribute here, this is my wall, and you'll see I stuck this noise plugin on top of that to give that a little bit more just modeling on there. And then if you turn it down, again in the coat value here, you can diminish it quite a bit. But it has a big effect because things don't then look like they were just freshly painted or something like that. So that's going to look a little bit more realistic. Again, that's what I'm shooting for here. Something that looks a little more interesting. So right now this looks a little more like carpet than it does cement. But those are just two textures I stuck in there. I didn't really look at them beforehand. I just wanted to show you what you can do there. Okay. Okay, so here is something else we're going to do. And I'm just going to stick a texture on this. This is just going to be something I stick on the wall. Okay. And again, things are rarely this perfect and flat in real life. They usually start getting messed up. Okay. So if I go to vertex mode here and I hit the B key to turn soft select on, I can grab a vertex and pull this a bit. Remember, if I use the B key, I can hone this in and drag that down. So I can start to just kind of bump this a little bit. Okay. Maybe I push some of these guys over in this direction a little bit so it looks just a little more tattered. I could even rotate that a bit like that. Pull that out. Okay, something like that. I just tend to think that stuff looks a lot better than playing with perfect shapes. Okay, they always look wrong to me. Okay, so see, that's kind of just warped a little bit now. I think that's a little more, just more real. Okay, so I'm going to take that, I'm going to add a new material. Yeah, standard surface. I'm going to call this poster. And here I'm just going to stick a color map on it. Again, click on File, and I stuck some of these on the stuff that you guys can download. Just some poster images. There's just a bunch of different things. But I did grab some cool NASA stuff. They have these little guys. And like this one, I'll stick this one on here. And click Open. Okay. And you'll see what that looks like. Okay. Now it doesn't look like what the poster did. Okay. And this is kind of what I wanted to show you. You'll see we've got some white edges here. When you see something like that, you can fix it. Okay. And the way you fix it is you go to the UV editor. okay, right here, okay. And if I right click on this, this is essentially the thing that is controlling where textures go on the geometry. Okay, so if I right click on this and choose UV shell and click, that is going to pick this. I'm still in soft select mode, so I'll turn that off. Okay, but you can kind of see it here. Okay, UV shell, that's it. And if I move this around, you'll see that moves. Okay, so these UVs repeat in all directions here, but they're always flat and they're always square. Okay, so I want to essentially make these UVs fit the edges of this image, so I get rid of this white stuff. So by default it's trying to make it like that because this thing started out as a square plane. Okay, so if I can use my regular tools inside the UV editor. So if I hit the R key, I'm scaling my UVs down so they meet the edges of this. Okay, it's a little contrary to what you might think, but you can always watch it over here in the main window and see what's going on. Okay, and again, you have to have the 6 key activated to see textures inside here. Okay, so if I'm trying to do this in this mode, I won't see anything, but if I hit 6, I will. Okay, once you've got that, then you can just get out of here. Just go back to object mode over here, like this, and then you've got something you can put on your wall or somewhere. Okay, somewhere, anywhere. There it is. Okay, way the hell over there. Okay, so there's just that little guy sitting on the wall there. Okay, and if I want to be super realistic, I could put some push pins in there, but we'll just pretend it's taped on. Okay, plywood. Okay, don't be afraid to use stuff in your scene that you might have, you might want to have more than one of. Okay, so if I take this guy and I go to my modeling toolkit with multi-cut here, like this, with that thing selected, if I hold the control, or if I click outside of this thing, I don't even have to hold control down, I can cut through the thing that I have selected here. Okay, and once I do that, I can detach this from the main piece here. Okay, see that cut all the way through, like so. So if I go to face mode here and just grab this, I want to make sure I get all of that. Oops. I should probably have duplicated this first. It would have been a little easier. In fact, let's do that. Let's just go this way. I'll undo that all the way back to here. Okay, so then what I can do, nope, I want to undo the whole cut thing. Okay. All right, duplicate that, Command D, hit W, just move that up so I can see it a little bit better. Multi-cut, okay, drag across. I'll just do a different direction this time, like so. Then I can go to face mode here and just start deleting hunks of this. Because I cut it, it's all right there. Okay, so now I've got this piece left. Okay, nice and neat. And then I can just stick this somewhere. Okay, let's say I just want to have, this thing. Let's stick it in the corner. I'm going to center the pivot on that. Okay, I'm going to delete the history and 0 the transforms. Okay, that's stuff you'll do all the time. And again, if I go to my side view here, I might find it a little easier to manipulate this thing where I can actually see it. And if I go to my channel box, I should be able to see if I do -90 here, I'll get that thing flat. And then maybe I just want to tip this down like that. Then go back over here. Oops. Into this view and just lean it against the wall, something like that. Okay, again, a lot of times just simple things like this can be useful to add just something a little more real. Okay, I'm going to tip that down the other way here. And again, this is where your other views come in really handy, because you can always find the right angle to hit that thing and make it look right. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I've got this crazy little parallelogram thing going on. Again, just looks a little more, you know, human to have something like that in your room, rather than sheer perfection of computer stuff. Okay. So it's starting to get a little more random looking. Okay. I might have cut some other pieces here and just thrown them on the floor. Again, this room is way too pretty looking in terms of the walls and stuff. It needs to be dirtied up. So I'm going to need some, you know, more shelves, something like this. You know, just stick some stuff up here. Maybe throw some boxes on here, some parts, other stuff. Okay, and then I probably want to have a workbench somewhere as well. Since I grouped all this before, except I don't want this to be in my group. By the way, when you have something that you duplicated from something else, by default it comes in as part of that group. But if you click this and go to the group over here in the outliner and find it like this, since it's selected, it's going to be highlighted. You can use your middle mouse button to drag it outside of the group, and now it will not be part of that group anymore. Okay. So again, if I, you know, stick this over here like that, and then start putting some, maybe I'm putting my desk over here or something else, maybe I have a workbench, something like that, it's going to look a little more shoppy looking. Okay. See what I can drag in here. So file, import, and let's see, do I have, this was our stuff, was in here, I think. Oh, I've got some stuff in here I can throw in. Yes, this control panel. This was very nice. This was from last semester. Somebody brought this in. This could look cool on a wall. If you take a look at it, it's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice little piece of work. Okay. Something like that. So again, I want to make sure this thing is oriented the right way. So I'm just going to tip that up, hit 90 here, and then I want to tip it this way. Again, I want that to be 90. Okay, and now it should be in a place where I can stick it on a wall and it'll look like it belongs. At least in theory. Yeah, there we go. Who knows? Who knows what that thing is? Again, I'm going to want to put it pretty high up on the wall. The switches are usually about 44 inches off the ground. There's my little 32-inch marker there. Okay, if I just stick it there for now, that's cool. Okay, again, immediately you start to get things there that start to look more real. Okay.